Okay, so what we're going to do this morning is, just some mindfulness, just some presence of the change of year, the change of seasons. I think there's a real difference in the weather here in the UK between last week and this week, and I think by the time we get to the end of the week, we will have smelt those first smells of autumn. So just find yourself a comfortable position, whatever that looks like for you today, with either your levels of mental discomfort with your thoughts or actual physical discomfort or pain. You can prop as much as you need to, and during the practice, if you want to move, by all means move. You do not have to be uncomfortable or in pain to reap the benefit of the meditation, of the mindfulness. And with that, give your eyes permission to close. And then revisit how the body is feeling, the shape that it is making against the surface. So the back body, is the neck supported and the back of the head. Just feeling into the comfort of the back of the head, not worrying about whether our hair is combed, but truly resting the back of the head. And you might feel some tingling as you come down through the neck to the back of the shoulders. Feeling the top edge of the shoulders supported by the surface underneath. Rooting down into the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades supporting the back of the rib cage and the back of the heart. Coming down through the spine. To the lower back. Feeling the glutes and the sit bones, the hips, the whole of the bottom of the trunk, supported by the surface that's around or underneath. And maybe just noticing any tension that's in that area. So you might not be able to let go of the tension, but just feel into possibly how the front feels from the back, or how the left feels from the right. And then coming down to the back of the thighs, the knees, the calves, the ankles, the heels, and the bottom of the feet. Just By this point, the mind and thoughts might have started. They might have already been consciously distracting you, or you might have been carried away with a thought, and you might have some negative thoughts coming up as well. Just understanding the transient nature of thoughts and just cultivating perhaps the possibility of a more compassionate self-dialogue. So not pushing away the thoughts of the mind, but rather just allowing those thoughts and not following any narrative, but just being compassionate with yourself as you find the energy quietening and the comfort of the surface being offered to you. And then if you're able to, just take a deep breath through the nose. Whatever a deep breath looks like for you. So don't think of forcing or filling the lungs completely. Just take a deeper breath and then just audibly sigh through the mouth. Next time you exhale, that's just sending a signal to the rest of the body that this is an environment where safety is offered. And your nervous system just listens to that audible exhale. And then just follow the rhythm of the breath as you just return to the cool air of the inhale in the nostril and the warm air of the exhale in the nostril. Or you might feel the chest rise and fall, or the navel rise and fall. And just know that you can bring yourself back to this point on the map of the body at any time during the practice. And I just invite you now just to go inwards, acknowledging those negative thoughts or feelings if they're present, just allowing them to rise to the surface. Observing them without judgment, almost like a curious bystander. The distance between the inner self and the thought, similar to that of the body and the surface that the body is resting on, and that almost elusive space between the body and the surface, between the thought and the curious bystander. Just imagine perhaps the thoughts floating away, just falling perhaps into a stream, unacknowledged. Just floating by, so you can see the thought or the pain or the discomfort. You can acknowledge it, but it doesn't linger. It's on a journey downstream. And this is what the actual real leaves will do very soon, over the next few weeks. And when perhaps a negative thought or feeling or association, when it arises, just pay attention to it. Remember that these are just thoughts. And the thought is very often coloured by various circumstances. Your present mood, past experiences, unconditional, generational biases. And again, this gives you an opportunity to compassionately respond to yourself. So gently remind yourself that you can reframe things. So for example, instead of saying, "I always mess up," you could perhaps reframe that as, everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human. And it is. That's what humans do. We make mistakes. And perhaps for some of us, those mistakes come plentifully, and for some of us, they come rarely, but they always come. And we're all totally equal in that. So you can just find yourself watching the thoughts like leaves, or just imagine the leaves floating down from the trees, touching the water and being carried downstream. So we haven't suppressed anything. We haven't forced any fake positive thoughts. We're not using the image of an artificial leaf. And like the leaf, we're just curiously watching. Curiously watching the inhale and the exhale, or perhaps just watching the space between the body and the surface, or the space between ourselves and the leaves. Just giving ourselves a space of understanding and self-compassion. And maybe we do this 100 times, 1,000 times during our day. Maybe we only consciously do it once. Every day is different. Every breath is different. Just as we draw the mindfulness practice to its closing minutes, just give yourself some conscious thanks for making time for practicing of self-care. And also your willingness to explore your internal landscape. And this place is always here. And just slowly start to bring the attention back to the physical world. Just listen to those sounds that are close within the room, perhaps the creaking of a surface or an animal shifting position. Or perhaps you can hear some noises from the outside, perhaps the wind, the rain, or the traffic. Just start to orientate yourself back into the room, feeling that surface beneath you, still holding you, and just feeling those points of connection with the feet and heels, the back of the legs, the sit bones, the back, the shoulders, and the back of the head. And just start to bring some gentle movement, perhaps back into the body. And it can be very small, slight contractions, just giving the signal to the nervous system. You're starting to consciously move, and just opening the eyes when you feel ready. Again, being gentle and compassionate with yourself. When the light comes flooding back in, and just continuing with that compassion outside of the practice.